It's apparently the most favorite team on my channel right now, the Detroit Pistons. Detroit basketball. You guys seem to love the Detroit Pistons here on this podcast. And look, I have no beef talking about them, but I will tell you one thing that it's going to be a bit of an issue for them. Isaiah Stewart, ankle injury, listed as questionable against the 76ers. Asur Thompson, ankle injury, set to be out against the Philadelphia 76ers on Friday. Jalen Duren, questionable. Cade Cunningham, day to day as well. Tobias Harris is out with an ankle. Marcus Sasser is out with a hip. Jaden Ivey pretty much is in a situation where we're not going to see him for another month due to an arthroscopic procedure done on his right knee. He hasn't he if I'm not mistaken, I got to double check this to make sure I'm not tripping. He has not played yet more than one game this season. I just had to double check to make sure I wasn't tripping. Now, granted, did he ball out in the one game against Orlando? Yeah. 22 points. Oh, excuse me. Wait a minute. I'm tripping. I'm tripping. That was the last time we saw Jaden Ivey. He has not played a game this season. See, I had a little bit of a casual moment. That's my fault. Had a little bit of a casual moment. See, you can admit it, and you can admit it on camera. Then you can back it up later. See, this is what I'm saying. So, Jaden Ivey hasn't hasn't had a single dribble for this team this season. Tobias out, Marcus Sasser out, Cade Cunningham dealing with an injury, Jalen Duren dealing with an injury, Asarta. This is a long-winded way of me saying that the Detroit Pistons are dealing with injuries across the board. You know what's funny? And I don't mean this in like funny haha, but I mean it funny in the sense of ironic is a team that dealt with this exact same issue last season was a team we talked about at the very top of the podcast, the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic were a team that started out kind of rough, then really picked up momentum after the first five or so games. And unlike the Pistons, who like came out the gate swinging, this Magic team kind of had to go through some growing pains. I think they started out the season 1-3 and then put together like a seven or so game win streak to kind of get things back on the right track before all of a sudden the injuries completely rattled their season and they ended up finishing just at 500 basketball. Now, still end up making the postseason because at the end of the day, it's the Eastern Conference. But at the same time, the Detroit Pistons, I mean, they're facing a very similar issue here where they are off to a really hot start, but they've got a lot of guys missing games. Now, something that I was not familiar with when it came to these guys, and don't get me wrong, I was very, big on some of the signings they had in the offseason, like Karis LeVert and bringing in Duncan Robinson, I thought was a good replacement given the fact that you weren't sure what the history of Malik Beasley would be, or the not the history necessarily, but the status of Malik Beasley would be coming into the season, given the fact that he was, dealing with his off the court situation. But I'm going to take this time to shout out somebody that I'm assuming Pistons fans were already hip to, but I just learned about this week, of course, because he played my Chicago Bulls very recently. Yo, Dennis Jenkins is a little diamond in the rough. 6'4", 165 pounds. Had 24 points in that overtime game against the Washington Wizards to win 137 to 135. Knocked down 4 threes. Shot over 50%. Then he played my Bulls. 18 points, 12 assists, 2 steals, and was 9 of 19 from the field. Little bit of a gem there. A lot of people are talking about some of these like sneaky rising X Factor type players across the league, right? We talked about a handful of them. Simone Fontecchio and Jaime Jaquez for the Miami Heat are one that I think has come up a lot on this podcast, or at least come up a decent amount because of the fact that, they have just been a big part of why Miami's been one of the best offenses in the league so far this season. Another guy that we talked about on the podcast, Ryan Rollins for the Milwaukee Bucks. This guy who, he's moved off of Golden State. He's moved off of the Wizards. He finally gets an opportunity with the Bucks, and he's had himself a really, really strong season and had some really, really great performances that have given him a chance to show why sometimes it comes down to roster fit, and it comes down to whether or not an organization just believes in you. The Milwaukee Bucks believe in him, and here Ryan Rollins is the second leading scorer on the Milwaukee Bucks. This guy Dennis, he he looks like a dude. Dennis Jenkins is a name to watch, not necessarily because he's going to be some kind of breakout star or because he's going to be a most improved player candidate. I don't think it's going to be any of that. But he's going to be a dude that I think during this time frame, while the Pistons are dealing with so many of their injury problems across the board, especially at the guard spot, again, Cade, Jaden, Marcus Sasser, Osor, like you're missing so much ball handling with those guys out. This guy looks like he knows how to ball. He looks like he knows how to ball. He wasn't too shy of the moment. He was able to hit some big shots in this game, including a big time three in that game to send it to overtime against the Washington Wizards. Look, I don't know what's going on with the Pistons this year. They were one of my favorite teams to watch last season because I love a team that has the ability to punch above their weight. And I specifically love a team that discovers the greatness that can come with just having a competent roster. The Detroit Pistons, for the longest time, kind of similar to the Charlotte Hornets this season, finally have a competent roster with like a 9 to 11 man rotation of just guys that know how to hoop. Not a bunch of athletes that you got to teach how to play high IQ basketball, or a bunch of high IQ basketball players but they can't shoot, they're not high flyers, they don't put a lot of pressure on the rim. They just really know how to move the ball, right? They really know how to be play connectors, half court connectors. No. 9 to 11 guys who just know how to play real together basketball. And that's what the Detroit Pistons have right now. And guys like Dennis Jenkins are a good representation of the fact that this team is deep. They still got Karras. They still have Duncan Robinson. They still, I mean, the front court is a little tough, but I like B-Ball Paul personally. Man, I got to be honest with you. It's going to be interesting to see how Detroit holds up, because if you think that I'm worried about teams like the Knicks missing Jalen Brunson for a significant period of time, what could this team look like if they have to miss a Cade Cunningham, who should be in the top 5 conversation for MVP, if not maybe number 1 right now in the MVP conversation in some people's eyes? What does it look like if they have to miss him for a significant amount of time? He's listed as day-to-day right now, so maybe it won't go as far as I'm thinking. But what if you miss Jalen Duren for a period of time? What if B. Stu and Asar Thompson both miss real time? Both real defensive enforcers on that team. Two guys who take a lot of pride on being rim protectors, poking the ball out, playing passing lanes. There's a lot of bad boy Pistons aura in this team, and their enforcers are down right now, missing real time. So I'm just worried about the Detroit Pistons a little bit. You guys let me know in the comment section down below. We listed 4 different teams here: the Magic, the Knicks, the Bulls, and the Pistons. If you had to rank them in order of who is dealing with injuries the worst, or who is going to be smacked by the injury bug the worst in terms of these issues, who is gonna face the brute of these injury issues the most, you guys let me know who's the worst off, and who you think is going to be able to coast through this thing pretty calmly. I think if I had to say who's going to be the worst off, I'm going to say it's the New York Knicks for right now, because I don't know just how deep this Pistons problem is going to be. Maybe Cade and Jalen Duren get back into the lineup, and that kind of helps absolve things a little bit. So I don't want to freak out over that too much. The Bulls with Josh Giddey, we'll see how that goes, but him and Kobe White are really the only 2 players that are really hurt for them right now. Granted, that's your starting backcourt on most nights, both down, so that's not great, but only time will tell. And Paulo Banchero with the Magic, I think actually he's the least of my worries, because I think they're going to have him back very, very soon. But I'm interested to hear what you guys say in the comment section down below, because maybe Paulo missing time creates a little bit of turmoil in the locker room, because all of a sudden maybe other Magic players like how they play basketball together without Paulo on the floor. Maybe Jamal Mosley likes the way that they play basketball on the floor without Paulo healthy. And then when he comes back, it creates a different dynamic that now they have to work through. With the Knicks, if he misses double-digit games, Jalen Brunson's aura will be something that dictates a lot of how the rest of this 2025 goes for the New York Knicks. Just a lot of questions in the Eastern Conference. a ton of injuries across the board. But with that all being said, this has been another edition of the Routine Jumper Podcast. Did we hit our 20 minutes? Nope. Did we miss our 20 minutes with even less topics than we normally do? Yes, we did. That's not the point, man. I really love NBA basketball. I haven't been able to record as consistently as I want to so far this week. That's to each his own on that one. We're not making excuses. We're covering NBA basketball every single day in some capacity for the rest of this week, going into next week, and we're gonna pick this ball up, get it rolling, and start talking about some of the biggest topics in the NBA. You guys drop in the comment section down below some of the teams or some of the topics you guys would like me to talk about here on the podcast, and consider it done. With all that being said, remember to like, comment, and subscribe for daily NBA content. I will see you guys next time, but until then, peace.